Europe is the world's most popular continent for tourists. Many millions of people visit each year. But this popularity is causing a big problem called overtourism. This means there are too many visitors, and it makes life difficult for local people. Overtourism also damages historical sites and the environment in cities. This issue has become a big concern for the European Union. This past summer, people in many well-known European cities protested. Residents in places like Barcelona, Venice, and Lisbon showed their anger about the crowds. They felt that tourism was harming their neighborhoods and quality of life. Now, the Netherlands is also taking action. Amsterdam, one of its famous cities, is joining other European cities to find answers to this problem. They want to change how tourism works. The main question is, how can Europe welcome visitors without hurting the places where its citizens live? Cities are now trying different ways to solve this. Some cities limit how many tourists can enter certain areas. Others have started charging fees or have stopped homes from being rented to tourists for short periods. The European Union is also working on its first big plan for tourism, which will focus on keeping things good for everyone and the planet. This story is about Europe trying to find a balance. How to keep tourism strong but also protect its cities and people. Too many people. The problem of too many visitors in Europe is very serious. Numbers clearly show this. In cities like Dubrovnik in Croatia, there are about 41,000 people who live there. But during the busiest times, about 27 tourists come for every person who lives in the city. This means many more visitors than locals. Venice, a famous city in Italy, has a similar problem. The island of Rhodes also sees around 26 tourists for every one resident. These are not just small towns, they are important places loved by many. These numbers are not just statistics. They show that historic city centers are very crowded. Imagine walking through old streets, trying to do your shopping or go to work, and there are thousands of people around you, often moving slowly. This is the daily experience in many famous places. Geneva, a city in Switzerland, is small. It has an urban area of just about 16 square kilometers. But it gets more than 500 visitors for each square kilometer every year. About 8 million tourists visit Geneva each year. Rome, Italy's capital, welcomes an even bigger number, 35 million visitors every year. Barcelona in Spain sees over 26 million visitors yearly, making it difficult for residents to navigate their own city. Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands, is another example of this problem. The city set a limit of 20 million overnight stays for tourists each year. But for the last 3 years, Amsterdam has had more visitors than this limit. For the year 2025, experts believe almost 24 million overnight stays will happen. This is much more than the city's own target and shows the city is struggling to control visitor numbers. Europe as a whole welcomed about 340 million international tourists in only the first half of 2025. This shows that the number of visitors is still growing, even more than before the pandemic. This huge number of visitors creates a big pressure on these beautiful cities and their resources. It also makes daily life much harder for the people who call these cities home. everything becomes more expensive, including housing and basic services. The cities feel too full, and the peaceful daily rhythm of local life is often lost. This is a significant challenge for everyone, making it hard to find a balance between welcoming guests and protecting homes. 3. No place to live. A very big problem for many European cities is housing. It is becoming harder for local people to find a place to live. Many homes are now used for tourists instead of for permanent residents. Websites like Airbnb make it very easy for homeowners to rent their places for short periods. This brings in a lot of money for owners, often more than long-term rentals. This simple way to earn more money has changed how homes are used in popular cities. When fewer homes are available for local people to rent for a long time, the rent prices go up a lot. People who have lived in these cities their whole lives suddenly cannot afford their homes anymore. They are priced out of their own neighborhoods. This means many local families and individuals are forced to move out of the areas where they grew up. They leave behind their friends, schools, and local shops. This movement causes big social problems. Old communities lose their longtime residents and their unique cultural feel. In some places, the changes are very clear. For example, in Amsterdam, neighborhoods like De Pijp and Jordaan were once known for their strong local identity. They had many small family-run shops and local businesses. Now, these areas have many more places that serve only tourists. This has changed the character of these neighborhoods a lot. The city government in Amsterdam has tried to limit visitor numbers, but the amount of overnight stays still goes over its official cap. This situation has made some residents so upset that they have taken the city to court. They believe the government is not doing enough to protect their homes and communities. Other European cities are also acting. Florence, a beautiful city in Italy, made a big decision. It put a complete ban on new short-term rentals in its city center. This was a strong step to protect its communities from becoming only tourist areas. The issue is difficult because property owners can earn much higher returns from renting to tourists. However, when local people are displaced, cities can lose their cultural identity. This is a sad irony because tourists often come to these places looking for authentic experiences and local culture. But too many tourists can accidentally destroy the very things they came to see. 4. A strain on the city. The large number of tourists also creates problems for the city's buildings and the environment. These are called city infrastructure and the natural surroundings. Many famous places around Europe now have too many people visiting them. This makes it hard to enjoy these sites and can even cause damage. Take the Louvre Museum in Paris, for instance. It is one of the world's most famous museums, but it often becomes very full. So many visitors can make it hard for museum staff to do their jobs. Sometimes the museum has to close its doors for a short period because of overcrowding. This shows how serious the situation is for these popular places. Historic sites are also under great stress. The Colosseum in Rome is a very old and important building. To protect it, the city has set a limit. Only 3,000 visitors can be inside the Colosseum at any one time. People must book their tickets ahead of time for a specific entry slot. Another ancient site, Pompeii, also limits its daily visitors to 20,000 people. These rules began in 2025. Such limits are necessary to make sure these historical treasures last for future generations. Without them, the constant flow of people could cause lasting harm. Another big concern comes from cruise ships. These huge ships carry thousands of people to port cities all at once. When many ships arrive, they bring a sudden flood of visitors, which overwhelms city centers. More importantly, cruise ships cause a lot of pollution. Their engines release harmful gases into the air. They also contribute to water pollution in harbors. This goes against what European cities want to achieve for a cleaner environment. Many cities have promised to reduce carbon emissions, and big ships make this harder. Because of this, cities are now trying to control cruise ships. They want to find cleaner ways for tourists to travel. Barcelona, a popular city in Spain, plans to close 2 of its 7 cruise ship terminals. This change will happen by 2026. Venice, a city famous for its canals, now limits the number of cruise ships coming in. Only 3 ships can arrive each day, which is half of its previous capacity. Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, charges each cruise passenger 14.50 euros. This fee helps manage the impact of these visitors. Moreover, Amsterdam has made a rule that all boats used for canal tours must now run on engines that do not pollute the air. These actions are more than just business choices. They show that cities are making important decisions about their future. They are saying that keeping the environment healthy and protecting their rich history is more important than simply having as many tourists as possible. They aim to find a balance, ensuring that both residents and visitors can enjoy the cities without causing irreversible harm. This ongoing effort highlights the big challenge European cities face today. 5. People are angry. People in many European cities are now angry. They feel that too many tourists are making their lives difficult. In the summer of 2025, many residents protested. These protests happened in cities like Barcelona, Venice, and Lisbon. Locals said they were not against tourism itself. They were against the large, uncontrolled number of visitors that was changing their neighborhoods. These protests focused on specific issues. People did not like short-term rentals that were not controlled, like those offered on platforms like Airbnb. They also protested against big cruise ships that brought thousands of people at once. And they were angry about too many visitors in small historic areas of their cities. In Barcelona, the protests were strong. The city government responded. They decided to cancel 10,000 permits for tourist apartments by 2028. This was an important step for local people. In Naples, Italy, residents also protested about housing prices. They worried that soon their cities would become too expensive for them to live in. Amsterdam is another city where people are taking action. A group of citizens started a campaign called Amsterdam Has a Choice. They decided to take the city council to court. They raised 50,000 euros to pay for the legal action. They say the city government has not done enough to protect them. The city of Amsterdam had set a limit for overnight stays at 20 million per year. But for 3 years in a row, the number of visitors went above this limit. The citizens argue that the city council did not enforce its own rules. So they are using the law to make the city act. This legal step shows how serious the situation is for residents. People want their homes and local communities to be protected from overtourism. 6. Why is this happening? The problem of too many tourists grew because of many things happening at the same time. People call this a perfect storm. First, cheap airlines made it much easier and cheaper to travel to Europe. More and more airlines started flying, and ticket prices went down a lot. This meant that many more people could afford to visit places they could not before. Travel became open to almost everyone, not just wealthy people. As flights became cheaper, even more people wanted to fly, creating a cycle of growth. At the same time, new websites for renting places to stay also grew. Websites like Airbnb made it simple for people to rent out their homes or rooms to tourists for short times. Before, building new hotels needed a lot of money, planning, and time. But now, individual homeowners could use their houses for tourists without many rules. They could earn much more money from tourists than from renting to local people for a long time. For example, a home rented for €800 a month to a local family could make €100 to €150 a day from tourists. This meant many homes quickly became tourist rentals instead of homes for local residents. These two things, very cheap flights and very easy short-term rentals, created a system that always pushed for more and more visitors. The main goal became getting as many people as possible to travel and stay in cities. Now, cities are trying hard to fix this situation. They have made many new rules. Some cities ask tourists to pay a special tourist tax. Others put limits on how many visitors can come each day, or they stop new hotels from being built. Some cities have even banned new short-term rentals like Airbnb to protect their housing. Amsterdam, for example, has put in place about 75 different rules since the problem started in 2020. These rules include a 12.5% tourist tax, which is the highest in Europe. They also do not allow new hotels and have a "Stay Away" campaign to discourage certain kinds of tourists. But even with all these strong rules, the number of visitors still goes up. Amsterdam still has more overnight stays than its own limit. The deputy mayor, Sofian Mabarki, said in late 2024 that there is no single button we can press to solve everything. This makes people wonder, do these new rules really solve the main cause of the problem? Or do they only try to fix the smaller issues we see, like treating a headache but not the sickness itself? It is very hard to change a system that makes so much money from welcoming many tourists. 7. The Dutch example. Amsterdam is now a very important city in the fight against too much tourism. Locals feel that the city council is not doing enough to protect their city. Because of this, a group of citizens called Amsterdam Has a Choice took a very big and new step. They started a lawsuit against the city council. They say that the city government has failed to follow its own rules about how many tourists can stay overnight. This legal action is very significant. It moves the discussion about over-tourism from protests into the court system, making the city legally accountable. The city's deputy mayor, Sofian Mabarki, understands the seriousness of the situation. He has publicly promised that the city government will announce a new, comprehensive plan. This plan is expected to include even stronger measures to control the high number of visitors. The city has set a firm deadline. This new plan must be presented by December 1. This deadline creates urgency and shows that the city is under pressure to find effective solutions. Many people, both inside Amsterdam and across Europe, are waiting eagerly to see what actions will be taken. It is important to remember that Amsterdam has already tried many things to solve this problem. Since 2020, the city has put in place about 75 different measures. For instance, it introduced one of the highest tourist taxes in Europe. It also banned the construction of new hotels and limited how many extra hotel beds could be added during renovations. The city also restricted river cruises and launched a special Stay Away campaign to discourage certain types of tourists. Yet even with all these efforts, the number of overnight stays still went over the city's official limit of 20 million for 3 years in a row. This clearly shows that the previous solutions were not strong enough to fix the root causes of the problem. What happens in Amsterdam now is like a small, clear picture of a bigger challenge for all of Europe. Many other famous cities, from Venice to Barcelona, face similar issues with too many tourists. They are all watching Amsterdam very closely. They want to see if this Dutch city can find a real and lasting solution that truly works. If Amsterdam succeeds in balancing welcoming visitors with protecting its residents, it could offer valuable lessons and hope to other places struggling with overtourism. This makes Amsterdam a critical test case for the future of European tourism. 8. What is the future? Europe is now at an important point. It is like a place where two roads meet and a big choice must be made. Problems with many tourists make everyone ask hard questions. We need to think about who cities are really for. Are they for people who live there or mostly for visitors? This is a big question that affects everyone. Can cities grow their money from tourism and still keep a good life for their people? Or do they have to choose one over the other? Some people say cities become like playgrounds for tourists, not homes. This means houses turn into short-term rentals and local shops are replaced by souvenir stores. Local people cannot afford to live in their neighborhoods. They lose their homes and community spirit. The question, whose city is it anyway, is at the heart of the problem. For a long time, cities were places where people lived, worked, and built their lives. They had their own culture. But with too many tourists, cities change. They become more like a stage for visitors. This can make cities lose their real character. The things tourists want to see, like local culture and authentic places, can disappear because of tourism. It is a strange situation. Another big question is about money. Tourism brings jobs and money to cities. But who really gets this money? Often, jobs are low-paying, and money goes to big companies, not always to local residents. At the same time, local people pay a high price. House prices go up, public transport becomes crowded, and the environment gets more pollution. Is it fair that some people get rich from tourism while others suffer? Many believe we need to find a balance where everyone benefits. The idea of sustainable tourism is important for the future. This means tourism that does not harm the environment or local life. But can millions of tourists still come to Europe in a sustainable way? Some people think sustainable tourism with many visitors is not possible. They believe fewer visitors might be the only real way to protect cities. Tough decisions might be needed. Cities might need to say no to some tourists or limit how many can visit. This whole situation is more than just about travel. It is about what kind of future European cities will have. It is a big test for communities. Can they protect their homes, history, and culture from being loved too much? Can they find a way to welcome visitors while putting their own people first? The answers will shape Europe for many years. It will show if cities can stand strong against too much pressure. Have you ever visited a place that felt too crowded with tourists? And what do you think cities should do about it?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.